boo. Hey guys, what's up?
Back.
Kyle here. Kyle and Corin here with you. A lot of great stuff to talk about today, man. I was pretty excited for talking about this stuff. You just mentioned right before we came on air, and this is actually a good conversation to have, even though I don't know too much about it. Bill Cosby.
Yeah.
Bill Cosby. With the jello pudding pops.
How you like my sweater?
Zip, zop, zoop, pop.
How's my sweater look today?
Those were the two worst Bill Cosby impressions in human history.
He's actually here in the room with us.
Yes. Hey, fellas, how's the jello pudding pops? So there's rape allegations and whatnot, and there was this big story this week about how he made this stupid mistake. I don't know whether it was him or like his agent or some shit, but they said, okay, go ahead and make memes. Like, make memes of me.
He
started it, was
really?
it? No, I don't know. I don't know if it was him or his agent or somebody associated with him.
Well,
but somebody was like, make a meme of Bill Cosby. And like you said.
They went crazy. The internet went crazy with him.
What was the one you just said? Jello pudding and rape or some shit? I like jello and rape?
I like jello pudding and rape.
So, but here's the thing.
Some of them.
I didn't know much about this story. I had no idea.
I didn't know much about
and
it.
I've read bits and pieces in the last few days. I'm still largely ignorant on it, but supposedly I think there's like 13 girls who accused him of rape.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I was just reading one article with one girl. I didn't know it was crazy like that. He must have...
Yeah, you mentioned that. You just mentioned that off air. He was mentioning how there's one woman who said, I didn't know what it was at the time.
She was like an aspiring actress and looked up to him as a mentor.
Right.
And then came out with the rape allegations.
Right. She said, I didn't know what it was at the time, but now I'm convinced it was rape. That's definitely a little suspect when you say, I didn't know at the time, but now I'm 100%.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of going from one extreme to the other.
You never want to doubt someone coming out with the rape allegations, but you sort of got to give maybe Cosby a benefit of doubt.
Well, it's always, in our legal system, of course, it's always innocent until proven guilty, but whether or not he did it is another case. I've heard the argument. I was watching Joe Rogan's podcast yesterday, and he was talking about this a little bit, and somebody said, well, if it's 13 people who accused him, it's like where there's smoke, there's fire.
Little Jerry Sandusky action, right?
Like, except he wasn't fucking little boys.
Yeah.
So, but there's a grain of truth in that, but at the same time, obviously the way our legal system functions, it's innocent until proven guilty. But it's weird. It's so weird because that's a dude who he's viewed as like, mainstream.
Yeah, he's a god in the comedy world.
Right. And he was like somebody I saw in the article, or I think it was one of the alleged rape victims who said it, that, he was America's father,
Yeah.
And then you hear that, he might do some shit like this. God, you never know, man.
I know.
You never know about anybody ever, know?
Here are some of the memes. So, look, I'll show you. He's got like that semi-smiley face that he does with like his eyes rolled up.
Oh, goodness.
And it's just
my
like,
two favorite
you can say
things.
it in his voice.
My two favorite things, jello pudding and rape. Blah, blah, blah.
And then he's wearing like a funky sweater in one of them that he always does.
Stare directly at the sweater. You are getting very sleepy. Oh, God. Oh, goodness.
So if that was his PR guy who said to come out with these, that's probably...
Yeah, like they thought that it would be, people would put like, Bill Cosby shit. Like all-American Bill Cosby shit.
No.
And then everybody was like, yeah, you're a rapist.
That's like...
Because this started also with Hannibal Buress. Hannibal Buress is a comedian.
Yeah, he's actually funny. I saw him live.
He's hilarious. Yeah, I've seen bits and pieces of his stuff before.
His
he's
famous
great.
line is like, someone jump in the water. Something. He says that
I don't
like
remember that.
Yeah, no, he says that. That's like his punchline.
So he kind of started the whole thing, but now it's like kind of ballooned out.
He started the Cosby?
He did a joke. He's been doing this bit where he goes after Bill Cosby.
Oh, really?
And he talks about how like 13 girls, you're a rapist, dude.
Oh,
he basically made that argument. He said that. It's interesting and it's weird. It's kind, what it kind of reminds me of. Not that these comedians are like close in how they act or anything, but Cat Williams, when Cat Williams did that bit on Michael Jackson, you remember that?
No.
Cat Williams used to do a bit on Michael Jackson where he would say, "Fuck Michael," like fuck him. And the audience would always be stunned. Because historically, keep it real, black people love Michael Jackson. They absolutely love him. And then Cat Williams is like, no, fuck him. I think he did it. Fuck him.
Yeah.
So Hannibal Buress kind of did the same thing with Bill Cosby. I had no idea about Bill Cosby. Like, I literally had no clue until maybe the last week or two that there were these allegations. And
stuff.
It
makes you think, too, because I remember he was on Jimmy Fallon or something like that, and I texted you the night. I was like, Bill Cosby's on Jimmy Fallon, and he is just going off the wall. Like
he wasn't funny anymore.
He wasn't funny, but he was just spewing out so many different things that maybe like he's just like delusional.
He's out
of
it now.
He's just out of it now.
Yeah.
But what was he like back when he was in his prime? And his
Dude,
heyday?
I never got it. I have to admit, like, and I understand just like comedy's like any art. It's very subjective, you know. But there are some comedians who I like and some who I don't like. I never understood the whole Bill Cosby fascination because, you know, to me, it's kind of like the anti-comedy. Like, comedy's supposed to be a little risque and, like, kind of cross over the line and cross back over, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that was so the opposite of his comedy. It was very, like, you know, Leave It to Beaver style type shit.
Off the wall.
Yeah, and I don't know. I just never was able to relate to it. It's like the same thing. If you go back and you look at comedy from the 1980s right now or 1970s, it's not funny anymore because comedy is so, like, dated to the time. Exactly. You know what I mean? Yep. And back in the 1970s, if somebody said the word penis in public, it's like, you said penis. Yeah. Now you can walk around and be like, so anyway, I was fucking her in the ass. Yeah. And everybody's like, oh, really? So what happened next? Yeah. Like, it's nothing now, you know?
I agree, yeah.
But, dude, let's quit fucking around and get to the important story of the day.
What is that?
Taylor Swift.
Yeah, man.
See, people don't know, if they don't listen to my live show, they don't know that I briefly mentioned this before. I was like, when next time you come back on the show, there's this amazing story where I'm convinced Taylor Swift hit on you, and you're convinced that that's not the case. So tell the story for everybody, and then even though I wasn't there, I will proceed to have strong opinions on it.
So I'm in New York City. I'm in an office building, getting out of the elevator, and who do I see? Miss Taylor Swift, who all of a sudden is an ambassador.
Somebody else that was there too, though.
Oh, she was
Say
with
that
someone.
too.
Kate Upton.
So
I had a decision to make. Was
there like an entourage around them?
Yeah, there was. They had like maybe a couple other models around them. So it was like you had to sift through like, which was, I'm not complaining. I had to sift through a whole bunch of hot women to find Kate Upton and Taylor
try to
Swift.
Take a picture with.
Yeah. So me, I love taking pictures. I'm not afraid to just like walk up to someone and be like, hey man, or hey, can I just grab a picture? And I've seen a lot of, like, you live in New York City, you're gonna see someone, right, you know, on the corner. You just got to recognize them,
right? So
I'm like, all right, which photo gets more likes on my Instagram, my Facebook? Taylor Swift, Kate Upton. So of course, all my guy friends would like the Kate Upton photo more, right?
Honestly, when you mentioned like you had to choose between the two, my thought process was, dude, I'd be totally 50-50 on that.
I know.
Like Taylor Swift, I think Taylor Swift is the bigger star. You know? But at the same time, Kate Upton is Kate Upton. Like, she's kind of known right now as being like one of the hottest women on the planet.
That's
you know
true.
What I mean?
But you also want to take in consideration, you know, their shelf life. What if one of them what if one of them
shelf life?
What if one of them passes away?
Like they're a box of cereal.
Seriously. You got to take this shit into consideration when there's two celebrities standing next to each other.
In the end, you probably made the right decision. I think if I went Kate Upton, I would have felt afterwards like, I should have probably went with Taylor Swift.
So that was my mindset. So I'm like, do I go to Kate Upton? Maybe, you know, there's that 1% chance she looks at me and I'm the new Justin Verlander. So anyway, I decide on Taylor Swift. I'm like, I had my mind set on taking the photo with Taylor Swift. So I make a beeline towards Taylor Swift. I'm like walking fast. And like there was like two guys around her that are like, all right, these guys aren't with her because they're good looking dudes. These guys must be security. They were in like a North Face like sweater jacket.
And they look tough.
Right. But I'm like making a beeline towards her. So I literally like walk right up into her face. And I'm like,
and at the time, by the way, just to give everybody perspective, you're wearing a nice like suit.
Yeah, I got a nice outfit on, so I look semi-official. Right. Like, but if
like she has no idea this could be, you know, somebody who's up and coming CEO of yada yada. Right?
Yeah, I don't look like an up-and-coming CEO.
No, it's possible. They could think that. I'm telling you. I mean, me and you know that we're idiots, so we don't think that. Yeah, but true. I notice myself, when I'm out in public and I got like a shirt and a jacket on, definitely with a tie, people automatically assume like, ooh, he might be important because he's white and he's wearing a suit and tie. And by the way, that's totally unfair in society, but it exists. But that perception exists.
Yeah, Jon Stewart said it. He did a segment where it was like a black guy dressed up, walked into like a New York City office building. Nobody paid him any mind, and then just like a regular white dude came in some regular clothes, and right away they were like, "Can I help you with something, sir?
So
Are you looking for where you're going?"
Yeah, and it's so
just
sad,
wrong.
but it's so it is wrong. It's totally wrong, but it's so true.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm like face to face with her, and I sort of get like a little elbow shrub from the guy in the North Face jacket, and I'm just like, at this point, I'm like, I don't care. So I'm like, Taylor, can I just grab a quick photo? She's like, yeah, sure, if you walk with me. And like, I'm just like, yeah. So she grabs my phone, we start walking, and she starts snapping like just mad selfies. So I'm like, I'm thinking like as this is going on, like, what the fuck? Like, this is awesome.
That is amazing.
And meanwhile, like I'm in the back of my mind, I'm like, I just OD shot down like a top pop star's security guard. Like,
that's
this
amazing,
is like
man.
like me. Like,
well, I mean,
they're
yeah,
at
it's crazy, but
like,
she's not the she's not the president, you know.
She's not the president, but she's damn close to it.
In
the world of like,
I mean, in the world of people noticing you in America, yeah, she's like way above and beyond the vice president. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
Serious. So like, she was a big time deal.
But, like, who wants to hurt her? I guess is my point. You know what I mean? Like with the president, people probably want to hurt him. There are people who hate him that much. With Taylor Swift, it's more like you either like her or you don't. But nobody's trying to stab her because she's not people probably staring down Vladimir Putin or some shit.
That's true. So anyway, so she grabs my photo. She grabs my phone, starts snapping photos. She hands me back my phone, and she was really cool, really nice, just smiling, mad nice. And all of a sudden, I turned into like a 11-year-old girl. I was just like,
say?
So she's smiling at me.
You're like
we're making eye contact, smiling. I'm smiling. I was just like, "You're the bomb."
Oh no. Oh,
like,
please tell me that
she could have been waiting for me to say anything like, like, what are you doing later? Like, what's up? Like, you want to chill? But I said, "You're the bomb," and I turned around and I was just like, "What the like? Am I in 1990 like 7 right now? Like, was I gonna start raising the roof?" So yeah, so I got my photo, but it ended pretty awkwardly.
I think you're pushing me away from my original position. So here's what so you sent me this all via text at the time right after. And you actually, in fact, you sent the photo. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, how did you randomly get a picture with Taylor Swift? And the way you described it, when you said, she said, only if you walk with me. Like when you said, hey, Taylor, can I get a picture? And then she said, only if you walk with me.
Yeah.
My thought was, oh,
like we're gonna
she's
start
hitting on you.
somewhere
Like,
together.
like she's like, if other people were in that situation, if there were other dudes in that situation, what's the percentage likelihood that she would say, you know, walk with me? If there's like a 42-year-old guy with a pot belly, Taylor, can I have a picture? And she's like, well, only if you walk with me. Tee-hee-hee.
Yeah.
Like, that's not going to happen.
Yeah,
It's only going to happen in circumstances where she's, you know, somewhat vibing with or acknowledging the person. But then you said afterwards, which maybe pushed me a little bit off my position.
Damn.
You were like, she's just...
She's like a robot.
She was just rushing, like she was trying to get from point A to point B. So her idea of, hey, walk with me is like, I'm not going to stop to take a picture with you, but walk with me and we can make it happen real quick.
Yeah, that's what I think.
That's what you think it was?
Yeah.
You would know more from the tone. I didn't hear the tone of what she said.
Yeah, and I also view her as like, she's just very happy-go-lucky, just ready to take a picture with everybody.
Yeah, you said that she seemed like a politician. Like she was just like smiling, taking pictures.
Yeah,
like
she knows
perfectly
the deal.
Into her public persona. And
well, because her demographic is just, you know,
young
like
girls.
Yeah,
and
like
shit.
12, 15-year-old girls who are always all about taking selfies and taking pictures. So at a concert of hers, that's just routine for her to take a camera and just start snapping photos.
But I mean, look, there is a small percentage chance that if you were like, you know,
if I had
I'd
a
like
G
to see
line
you,
at
I'd
the
like
end
to
of that,
see you again if you don't mind. Is there any way we could maybe go out to dinner or
who
something?
knows? I'll never get that chance ever again.
Well, you don't know that.
Yeah,
It's
maybe.
possible you might.
Unless you want to get some concert tickets. Let me ask you something, though, because I know I've asked you this in the past. Is there any, because you're not really starstruck, but is there any celebrity, I mean, maybe you'll say Bill Maher or something, but is there anybody that if you were like just walking on the street that you had the chance to go, be like, hey, man, can I get a quick picture or something like that?
Oh, I'd ask plenty of stars for pictures, absolutely. But the feeling of actual starstruck, fuck no. Bill Maher, no, I've seen him twice.
Oh, true, yeah.
I've seen him twice, and I was like 4 feet away from the dude when he was walking out.
No one that you would be like, wow, like Kobe Bryant, like that. If you like, I'm sure everyone has a person that like.
But describe starstruck for me. If by starstruck you mean just asking for a picture,
No,
then
not
I'd be
asking for-
starstruck
but
by
just
like
being-
80% of celebrities because
being
I want
in like
pictures.
their presence, like them standing right next to you and just being like, this guy has done
Having
so
that
much.
feeling of like,
just like I'm a little like this is the guy, you know?
God. I mean, I get that feeling of like I'm happy to be around this person.
I know what you're gonna say.
I wouldn't describe it as starstruck though. I wouldn't describe it as like, you know, my jaw's on the ground and I'm just staring at them like, you know what I mean? But the closest to that, I think you actually kind of nailed it. If I saw Michael Jordan, if I saw Kobe Bryant, if I saw LeBron James, when I have seen Tiger Woods.
That's what I'm saying.
When I see Tiger Woods, I'm like, okay.
You've seen Tiger up close hit a golf.
Yeah, and that was awesome.
That must
watching
be a good
him
feeling.
hit shots was like, whoa. I'm watching quite possibly the best golfer that ever walked this planet hit a shot. But you ready for something crazy?
What's that?
He's shorter than me.
Tiger?
Yeah.
Really?
In fact, kind of significantly shorter than me.
But he's pretty
So
stocky,
it kind of
right?
took away from his aura. Not really.
Oh, really?
The cameras are weird, man. Like cameras change the way. Like people who watch this show. I remember a while back I sent out a picture that I took with Penn Jillette, and some people were like, "Oh, Kyle's taller than I thought," and I'm like, in the picture I look like a dwarf next to Penn Jillette because he's like 6'4", 6'6" or some shit. I'm like, how do you take away that I'm taller than you think from that picture unless you know.
And plus, you sit in a chair for your show.
Yeah, I sit in a chair. So people apparently think I'm short, but
No, you're pretty tall.
I'm not tall,
not
but
tall,
I'm
but-
6 feet tall. That's a decent height. So yeah, no, I wouldn't describe it as starstruck, but I would be influenced by the presence of Kobe Bryant, like people who really have hit some sort of height of humanity. Like presidents, if I were to see Bill Clinton or President Obama, no matter how much I go after them, and I do, I think they're wrong about many things, yada yada.
Yeah.
But if I see them, I'd be like, ooh, this is like really cool. I'm in the room with somebody who's sort of a legend.
George Bush too?
I mean, I wouldn't get the feeling of like, oh, I'm looking up to him, like, oh, this is amazing. But I'd get the feeling of like, damn, I'm kind of in the room with somebody whose name is going to last 100 years, 300 years after his death.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like most people, you meet them and it's like, well, when this motherfucker dies, like 3 people remember him and it's a wrap.
Yeah.
You know, but with presidents, Tiger Woods, yada yada, them, I'd be like, okay, it's cool to be around them. The coolest thing about Tiger was watching him hit the shots.
Yeah.
And he does have this weird like demigod aura in a sense because I saw him at a few places. The most recent one was I think Bethpage Black a while back when they had the US Open there. He walked, it was I think the Thursday or Friday round, he wasn't doing well. He walked from one green to the tee. We were standing by the tee, me and my friend, and when Tiger walked off the green, we couldn't see him, but we knew he walked off the green because people were moving.
Yeah.
And then when he walked out of like this sea of people and to the tee, it was like Moses parting the Red Sea. Like you saw the group of people like spread back, and then he strides out confidently, like looking super focused.
That must have been awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was definitely pretty cool. So, not to switch topics too quickly here, but there's something that there are a few things I've been doing whenever I have free time. Mm-hmm. One of the things I've been doing is watching 572 documentaries, usually on all like military stuff and empires and whatnot. And I saw a show on World War I. Mm-hmm. Okay, I didn't know anything about World War I, and nobody knows anything about World War I.
Yeah, I'm scared about this topic right now.
If you go up to anybody in the street and say, name 2 of the countries that were on either side in World War I, here's the response you're going to get.
Yeah.
People go, oh, I got to go.
Yeah.
Like, nobody could tell you. I couldn't tell you 5 days ago, 10 days ago. Like, I had a rough idea, but I couldn't, to nail 2 and 2, not a chance. So I'm sitting there watching this, and I get legit scared. You want to know why I got scared?
Why?
When they describe how it started, it's a story that makes absolutely no sense.
Really?
The world went to war, quite literally. Mm-hmm. Made no sense whatsoever. So, I went to the Wikipedia page. I'm going to read you the first few paragraphs of this so you can see what I mean and see just how insane this is, okay? And by the way, my conclusion from this story is that human beings, we are apes. That's end of conversation. We are apes. We are some monkey motherfuckers. We're just as tribal, if not more tribal, than all these different animals. I'm telling you, when you hear this, you're going to be like, I can't believe that, man. I can't believe that. Millions of people died because of a war that made absolutely no sense. Again, walk up to people in the street. Why did we fight World War I? It was a world war, and they can't tell you. Like, don't you think that's a question where people should
should
say,
be a definitive
well,
answer.
X, Y, and
Yeah.
Z, and this was the problem, and this was the solution. No, but nobody knows. Nobody knows. And it's not their fault. It's the fault of the war because the war was fucking insane. All right, so listen to this. This is the Wikipedia entry on World War I, so you all know just how fucking crazy it is. World War I, also known as the First World War or the Great War, was a global war centered in Europe that began on July 28th, 1914 and lasted until November 11th, 1918. More than 9 million combatants and 7 million civilians died as a result of the war, a casualty rate exacerbated by the belligerents' technological and industrial sophistication and tactical stalemate. It was one of the deadliest conflicts in history, paving the way for major political changes, including revolutions in many of the nations involved. You ready for this? Mm-hmm. The war drew in all the world's economic great powers, which were assembled in two opposing alliances. The Allies, based on the Triple Entente of the United Kingdom, France, and Russian Empire, and the Central Powers of Germany and Austria-Hungary. Now, let me pause here for a second. Mm-hmm. I've been reading for a long time, right?
Yeah.
Do you have any idea why the war started?
No idea.
Exactly. Okay, let me continue. Although Italy had also been a member of the Triple Alliance alongside Germany and Austria-Hungary, it did not join the Central Powers as Austria-Hungary had taken, yada, yada, yada. These alliances were reorganized and expanded as more nations entered the war. Italy, Japan, and the United States joined the Allies, and the Ottoman Empire and Bulgaria, the Central Powers. Ultimately, more than 70 million military personnel, including 60 million Europeans, were mobilized in one of the largest wars in history. Let me pause. Do you have any reason why it started yet? Do you have any idea why it started yet?
Still no
idea. Okay, let me continue. The immediate trigger for war was the June 28th, 1914 assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria, heir to the throne of Austria-Hungary, by Yugoslav nationalist Gavrilo Princip in Sarajevo. This set off a diplomatic crisis when Austria-Hungary delivered an ultimatum to the Kingdom of Serbia, and international alliances formed over the previous decades were invoked. Within weeks, the major powers were at war, and the conflict soon spread around the world. That's it. That's the entire story. So you know what happened?
One guy died.
Okay, yes. Listen, one guy died, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, right?
That name sounds familiar, though, right?
We've heard we've heard it back in like social studies class a long time ago. But that dude got assassinated. He wasn't even like the king. He was the next in line to be the king of Austria-Hungary. Okay? Number of people who right now in the world who knew that Austria-Hungary ever existed is about 7 people. But this guy gets killed. Uh-huh. And by the way, he gets killed because he goes into the Slavic territory who the Austria-Hungary Empire was trying to overtake. Mm-hmm. Like, they're trying to expand their empire. So this guy goes into the territory, and then somebody from the Slavic territory goes, fuck you, and they shoot him and kill him. Okay? So there was like an invasion, and a guy killed the Archduke, and then the entire world went to war. And the reason is, as they say, diplomatic ties. So, like, you had the German Empire was allies with Austria-Hungary. Mm-hmm. So they said, hey, man, we're going to go to war with people in the Slavic territories. You with us, dog? And then they were like, yeah, we're with you. And then Russia decided, well, we're going to defend the Slavic people. So then it was Russia versus Austria-Hungary and the German Empire. Aye. And then you have France and Britain who are like, who do we fight? Like, what the... Okay, this happened in real life about 100 years ago, okay? Yeah. So one really long lifetime, and 7 million civilians died. All because one assassination happened, okay? And nobody's condoning an assassination, but it's, why the fuck are all these other places getting involved? Like, if everybody just acted off the principle of non-intervention, so the only time you fuck with anybody else is when they fuck with you, it would have been a war between the Slavic people and Austria-Hungary, and that's it. And nobody would know this story. A grand total of 5,000 people would have died because Austria-Hungary was much more powerful than the Slavic people. They would have just probably overtaken them in two weeks, you know? And that would have been it. That would have been the end of the conversation. But Russia had to get involved. The German Empire at the time had to get involved. Britain, of course, had to get involved because they were ruling half the fucking world at that point in time. France had to get involved because they had an empire at the time and they ruled half the fucking world. It's like,
That's
do you guys not
madness.
realize how, because you are idiots with too much pride, 7 million civilians died? Like, how do you... I don't understand how a leader can rationalize acting like that. Like, to be that pompous and to be that prideful, to be like, I'm gonna fight in this war because something happened in Austria fucking Hungary. Like, what the fuck?
Doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make any sense. And also here, let me do one more here because I think this is interesting as well. So you see how stupid this is. They have a timeline also on Wikipedia of World War I. Okay, it goes June 28th, assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, who was killed in Sarajevo along with his wife. July 5th, Austria-Hungary seeks German support for a war against Serbia in case of Russian militarism. Germany gives assurance of support. July 23rd, Austria-Hungary sends an ultimatum to Serbia. The Serbian response is seen as unsatisfactory. July 28th, Austria-Hungary declares war on Serbia. Russia mobilizes. July 31st, Germany warns Russia to stop mobilizing. Russia says mobilization is against Austria-Hungary only. August 1st, Germany declares war on Russia. Italy declares its neutrality. Germany and the Ottoman Empire sign a secret alliance treaty. What? Now we got the fucking Ottoman Empire. Like, can we fight somebody, please? I'd like that.
Sounds just like a bad game of telephone.
Exactly. Germany invades Luxembourg, August 2nd. Skirmish at a town, first military action on the Western Front, August 2nd to 26th. Germany besieges and captures blah, 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 blah. Insanity. Yeah, and then 7 million people die. I was scared because here's the thing, man. Now I'm gonna kitchen table this, and people are gonna be like, "What the fuck?" Think about the time span it was between World War I and World War II. World War I was basically in the 19-teens. World War II was in the early 1940s. That's not a lot of time, right? So 19-teens, 20, 30, so 20 years and change, 30 years maybe, right?
We had like depression going on, so we couldn't fight then, right?
For what?
For us?
The Great Depression happened in 1929, but the two world wars were like 20 or 30 years apart or so. But my point is that it's been a long time since the last World War. Last time it was 20, 30 years, right? Yeah. Now it's been... whatever 1940 to 2010 is, so or 1944 to 2014. You're expecting
a World War III?
Hold on, 44, 54. This is how big of an idiot I am. 70 years we've gone without a world war. I'm not saying that there is going to be a world war, but there's a very ominous quote. I forget who said it, but it's genius. He said, "When the last man dies who remembers the last great war, it's only a matter of time until the next one." Because the people who are alive remember how horrible it was and remember we should never, ever do this again under any circumstances. Well, when all those people die out, and they're dying out, all the people who were in World War II...
World War II veterans left.
Yeah, then, people...
Just forget history.
They forget history. They forget what it's like. They're filled with pomposity and pride. And also, I'm going to scare the shit out of everybody again right now. So if you look at the progression of World War II and what Hitler did. Hitler, his first move was to take the Rhineland, okay, which is like a German-speaking area in Europe that wasn't part of Germany at the time, okay? Then it was, I think, the Sudetenland in Czechoslovakia, and then it was Poland. And the argument that Hitler was using the entire time, like especially when he took the Sudetenland, for example, he said, no, these guys, there are German speakers in the Sudetenland, which is true. It's basically all German in the Sudetenland. It's the German-speaking portions of Czechoslovakia. He goes, they're facing repression from the government. They're being oppressed. I mean, this government is not treating them as equal citizens, and there's a problem there. So I'm going to take back, because that used to be part of Germany, and it was taken away from them in the Versailles Treaty, which is the end of World War I. It was the treaty that they came up with where they basically took land away from Germany and created all these other territories, right? And did other things, of course, too. And Germany felt totally fucked over by that. So Hitler said, look, all we want is the German-speaking areas. All we want is, the Sudetenland. All we want is certain areas of Poland, yada, yada. That was his argument. And at the time, the British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain said he fought in the First World War, right, as did Hitler, but Neville Chamberlain did not want another war. So he was like, by any means necessary, let's avoid war. So they negotiated a deal, and they basically gave Hitler what he wanted in the sense that they didn't give away all of Czechoslovakia, but they gave away the Sudetenland. They said, okay, that's now German territory. That's all I could give you, no more, right? So now he's viewed through history now as an appeaser. Like, he gave Hitler fucking a quarter of Czechoslovakia, if not more, and that was the problem. That emboldened Hitler, and he just kept taking more and more and more land.
Yeah.
Ready for this? What argument did Vladimir Putin use when he went into Ukraine and annexed Crimea?
What do you say? Well, Hitler got land?
No, these are just Russian-speaking territories in Ukraine. They're ethnically Russian. All we want to do is take the ethnically Russian portions back. That's all we're saying.
Oh, that's how it's going to start?
That's exact. And also now, recently, there's been stories of Russian aggression in the sense that they're flying aircraft in unrestricted area over Poland.
That plane that got shot down was there was a plane that got shot down that was like flying in the wrong territory or something.
Right. I don't remember which side did that though. Forgive me. I really don't. I don't remember if that was. I think you're right. I think it was Russian separatists in Ukraine. It might have been.
Yeah.
But I don't remember for sure. But the thing people are worried about is just like the Versailles Treaty made Germans feel like the world was against them because honestly they had to pay back billions of dollars they didn't have, and they felt like they were being more punished than anything after the First World War. They felt like they were getting the short end of the stick, and in many ways they were. The same thing's happening. The same thing happened with the downfall of the Soviet Union. So people don't remember this, but in the early 1990s, there were new states that were created. In fact, I'll tell you what they were right now. Like all states that we know now, and we think of like they've been there forever.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these were created in the 1990s, in the early 1990s. Armenia, Belarus, Estonia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Latvia, Lithuania, Moldova, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan. Like, these are all places that were created in the early 1990s when the Soviet Union broke up. And we basically said to the Soviet Union, okay, these areas are no longer yours. These are their own independent states now. Mm-hmm. That's very similar to what happened in the Versailles Treaty to Germany, when they said...
So now Putin wants those back?
It's arguable that what Putin's real motives are is to bring back the former Soviet states in terms of territory, in terms of give us back the areas that we had, just like Hitler originally said, give us back the areas that we had. Now, I gotta be clear about what I'm saying here. Although I just scared the shit out of everybody and making these parallels and these connections, and they're real. At the same time, you can't, nobody could say anybody's like Hitler, because Hitler was arguably the worst killer in human history. Mm-hmm. Stalin actually killed more people, but the way Hitler killed them was the most, insane thing. And, Vladimir Putin's as big of an asshole as there could possibly be, but he doesn't have no concentration camps right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm talking a little bit out of my ass here and making, kind of extrapolating. So I'm not saying for sure there's going to be a World War III and that,
history does repeat itself.
But exactly, history does repeat itself. And
bring attention to it.
Yeah, it's a scary thing, man. It's a scary thing. It's something that people don't like to think about. And, it hit me the other day. Like, I'm sitting there with my fucking laptop on my lap. I got my phone next to me, and I'm all relaxed. And I'm like, whoa, it wasn't that long ago that there was a draft, and you have to go fight, and looking at stories of people who stormed the beach at Normandy in World War II. Like,
that's why I'm fascinated when I see, like, an old, gentleman with like a World War II veteran hat on or something. Like the stories,
the shit that he probably saw, man. Holy
is
fuck.
Incredible. And then
incredible.
The fact that like they're on a flight with me somewhere, or something, like it's fascinating to see these guys, and you always thank them for their service because what they went through was fucking incredible.
Yeah, I think war is one of those things. People do it. Countries do it too nonchalantly.
Yeah.
They just, whatever, we want more territory. Whatever, we're religious extremists and we want to convert people.
Oil.
Oil, natural resources, et cetera, et cetera. I've said for a long time, I think what we need is a constitutional amendment that basically says we only fight defensive wars. Mm-hmm. That only if there's an imminent threat of attack against the nation can you fight. And by that standard, I think maybe the only intervention we would have done, the most recent intervention we would have done, would have been World War II. Because Hitler declared war on the U.S., okay? So you have to defend the nation, right? But also, there was such clear evidence. He basically took over all of Europe. People don't realize that. He was fairly successful in taking over all of Europe. All of France was gone. All of Poland was gone. All of Czechoslovakia was gone. He got all the way to Russia. He got all the way to Stalingrad in Russia. He conquered that entire territory. So there was an argument to be made at the time, and they did make this argument. This isn't even about like going to protect Britain or going to protect France or whatever. This was about the world is going to fall to Nazi fucking Germany.
Yeah, it wouldn't make
So we had to go defend. But post that, like, okay, Vietnam. You don't need to go fight Vietnam. The argument they made was if we don't go fight in Vietnam, then Laos is going to fall to communism. Then Malaysia is going to fall to communism. Then next thing you know, it's at your doorstep in Nebraska. That's the argument they made. They're like, it's going to come, it's going to come. No, it's not going to come. Vietnam, they don't have the capability or the want to come back here. In fact, they were colonized by the French for so long. All they were doing was fighting back against colonial rule and trying to establish their own government, and they chose communism. So the idea that like we should go in there and colonize them ourselves or force them to have some sort of a capitalistic leader, it was a stupid argument, and it's clear that we weren't actually defending the nation.
Well, we have other reasons that we intervene for,
in that case, I think it really had more to do with China and Russia. We were afraid at the time of, it's the Red Scare. Communism is going to spread everywhere. That's the argument they made. So they were more afraid that China and Russia would be emboldened by that, and then there'd be this grand war throughout the world for communism. But I don't think that's true. I never bought that, because if you want to set up a communist system, okay, do it in your own country.
Yeah.
And that's how a lot of these people are thinking. If you're a revolutionary in Vietnam thinking about what kind of a political system you want, are you also going, and then I can't wait to get to Iowa and do it there? You don't know the people in Iowa. You don't know their culture. You don't know their history. You know they're going to resist you if you go there. You don't have the numbers to go there. So it's this fantasy, this really absurd, scared fantasy that people have where they're like, everybody's got to think like us and act like us and have the same culture and political system.
Yeah.
Wrong. The only time we should ever fight wars is to defend the nation against imminent attack. And I get it. Like, are there some examples where there's a clear genocide going on where one side is right, one side is wrong, one side are assholes, one side are victims, and they're slaughtering people, one side is armed, one side is not? Yes, those exist. But what do you do in those scenarios? What you do is you go through NATO, you go through the UN, you use the international community, you all come together, you all come up with a comprehensive plan, so we all do it together. So it's not one nation above all the other nations, because they'll abuse that, and then they'll, end up getting natural resources and fighting for other reasons
and stuff, and then they'll use them against us.
Like we've done so many times throughout history. So why not do it as an international community and clearly define it? Like, okay, we're 3-week-long, offensive. We get it over with, and then we're out, and you do some humanitarian aid.
Yeah.
That's all you need to do. Either act internationally to stop genocides, or only send our troops to fight to defend the nation. That's it. But we've never abided by that, man.
I'm with the argument. If other countries are fighting, let them fucking
It's their
fight.
business.
It's their business. They'll figure it out. Like,
and that's the thing, is oftentimes most situations where there's a war going on, it's not this comic book view of the world where one side is pure right, one side is pure wrong, and you have to pick a side. It's much more complicated and nuanced and complex. Like, usually both sides have a decent argument on certain points, and they're fighting for control and power and what political ideology they want, et cetera, et cetera. So in cases like that, of course we shouldn't get involved. Yeah. Of course. Hey, why would you pick a side in a situation where both sides are somewhat right? Or why would you pick a side in a situation where both sides are somewhat wrong? Just stay out of it in that case. Again, the only time, if you want to act internationally to stop genocides, sure. Like the situation with ISIS, there was this religious minority group called the Yazidis. They were on Mount Sinjar, and they were like stuck on a mountain. And ISIS was waiting for them to gun them down and kill them. Okay, that's a clear example of one side's right, one side's wrong. This is a genocide. This is bad. Okay, great. Send the international community in there. Let's clean this up. And we did that to an extent. I mean, the U.S. more took the lead, which was annoying, but we did that. That's fine. I'm fine with that. But most situations where there's fighting, it's not, there's a slaughter of this group going on. It exists. Yeah. It exists for sure. And in those, like Rwanda is another example. You know, what is it? The Tutsis and the Hutus or whatever.
I have no idea.
Yeah, there was and we didn't get involved in that, and the international community probably should have in that situation. But
it's just if you were like a big, powerful, if you bring it just to like a smaller context, if you were a big, powerful kid in a school ground, you saw two kids fighting over like a basketball or something, your main goal is not to try and break up the fight and decide who's going to like eventually get the basketball or something. You're going to be like, all right, I just broke up this fight. I'm going to play basketball now. So it's like you have like this almighty, powerful, like I'm the most powerful person. I'm breaking up this fight. Now I'm entitled to take this.
That's what the U.S. does, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like you're not going in there because you actually care that these two sides are fighting. You're trying to solve the problem. You're going in there like, I just broke this up. Now, no, I'm going to take charge now.
Yeah, and that's what we do with natural resources, for example.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the case of Iran is the one that really gets me, man. Because when you look at that, like, there's no argument where the U.S. is right on the situation of Iran.
Yeah.
Like, what happened with Iran, we toppled their democratically elected government in 1953. They elected this guy, Mohammad Mossadegh. This guy decided, as he should have, I would have made the same decision. All the Western powers were just taking oil from Iran. They were just taking it, okay? They had a deal with the government. They would just take it, right? So all the people of Iran are impoverished, but they're massively wealthy because they have oil, but it's being taken from them.
Yeah.
So this democratically elected guy was like, well, we're going to nationalize the oil industry and we're going to rebuild our country, and the Western powers can suck my dick. Okay, that was basically the argument that he made. And then the U.S. said, wrong, we're going to topple your punk ass, and we're going to put in a dictator named the Shah, and the Shah is going to continue to give us oil, and your country is going to be ruled in a secular dictatorial way, when also, by the way, most of you are very Muslim, and you would prefer some sort of a Muslim government.
It sort of unifies them in a way, because then they're like, of course, well, fuck this guy, let's stop fighting. We're
the great Satan.
Yeah, let's
see. People like to think in the U.S. that other countries woke up one day and decided, I really hate Bob in Arkansas. Yeah. Those Americans suck. It didn't happen in a vacuum, you idiots. Yeah. It happened because there was a logical progression and there was a reason why people said, I fucking hate these guys.
So it's like, why are we fighting? Let's fight against let's put our forces together and fight against the big bully and fucking bomb them.
So then what ended up happening? There was the revolution, I think it was in 1979, and people were afraid, rightfully so. See, here's the thing. They're right on the practicality of the situation, the people in Iran. But the problem is that because the people were so oppressed for so long, they were so angry they needed something to cling to. So what did they cling to? Religion. So now you have basically Muslim fundamentalists who say, we're going to topple this government, right? And then they put, they have the Ayatollahs now, and it's a religious government, and it makes it easier for people in the U.S. to go, look at these fucking savages. It's good that we were there. We should have been there. We should have done X, Y, and Z. But they don't understand that the fertile soil which led to the fundamentalism and led to the extremism was the fact that
us.
Exactly. We went in there, took their fucking oil, gave them a puppet government, and said, fuck you. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And people don't get it because they don't know the history, so they just think America's good, and when Iran is mad at us, it's because Iran is they're not good people. That's what it is. Like, no, you fucking dunce. Read a little bit about history and then talk. All right, that was fun. So, by the way, I know you have to go. I don't know exactly what time you have to go, but just let me know when you have to go.
Like 20 minutes. Or
okay. So there's two more things I want to get to. Should we go light first or heavy first?
Let's get the heavy out the way and then bang out the light.
So the heavy is, I was thinking about this the other day. I mentioned this briefly on air. I wasn't sure I was going to do it, but I'm going to do it. Tell people what I would do on my first day if I was president. Okay. Now, here's the reason why I wanted to do this, because usually when I talk about stuff like this on air, I'm very flippant and casual and nonchalant. I'm saying, I would do this in terms of a policy idea, right?
Yeah.
But I never get into the specifics because it takes a lot to describe what order you would do it in, how you would do it, so on and so forth. So I'm going to speak as if I was literally just elected as president, okay? And I'm in there, this is my first day. I'm going to speak like that. Like, if I'm actually, hey, you just got sworn in, you're on your way to the White House, go.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So here's what I would do. This is my first day as president, and I mean every word of this. The first thing I would do is I would talk to the head of my cabinet, and I'd say, get me a list of every single nonviolent drug criminal in America. I don't know maybe they have some federal database for that. Maybe they'd have to call the states and get it individually. However, whatever, it doesn't matter to me. Mm-hmm. So that's the first thing I do.
Regardless of how many people it is.
Regardless of how many people, I don't care how many people it is, okay? The second that I get all of those names, and I don't know if it would be the first day or if it take a few days to get all the names together, whatever, I'm immediately pardoning every single one of them.
Really?
Every single non-violent drug offender. Yeah. Every single non-violent drug offender in the country. So if you were ever selling weed, selling cocaine, doing weed, doing cocaine, every single non-violent drug offender in the country, you're free. Every
drug, heroin.
Every single drug. Yeah, every drug. I don't care. Every single non-violent drug criminal, you're free.
Okay.
See, some people are going to react like that, right?
Yeah, I mean,
but just wait until I explain to the American people. Hey, here's why I'm doing this. Hey, when you come home from work and you drink a Corona, do you think that you're breaking the law? Do you think that you should be put in jail for that? People go, of course not. What do you mean? Hey, when you come home from work and you're stressed, you have anxiety, you take a Xanax. Do you think you're breaking the law?
Yeah,
is there a problem there?
Say that other side with, that guy has a Corona and then he has a couple more and then he beats his wife or something. There's other consequences.
But that's not true. It's not true that all people. What percentage of people that drink alcohol are beating their wives? 0.1%?
Yeah, I'm sure it's a contributing factor to them.
Are you?
No.
I don't think so. I don't think at all. Are you kidding me? I drink all the time. I drink beer.
Not us, but I'm saying if maybe that guy wasn't doing drugs or wasn't drinking beer, would he do the same stuff that he would do if he wasn't?
80 to 90% of all drug users of all drugs are moderate users. They could pay their bills, they could take care of their families, they can live a normal life. 10 to 20%. This isn't numbers I made up. This is according to Dr. Carl Hart, who's a specialist in addiction and all things related to drugs. I think he's a neuroscientist. 80 to 90%. So why is it that when it's a drug like alcohol, everybody just casually accepts that? Like, everybody knows an alcoholic or two. I know. Yeah, my cousin, whatever. He had some troubles. He had to go to this or that rehab center. Everybody knows that. But nobody takes the next step and they go, well, we should obviously ban it because this person can't handle it. It's just crazy. But we do that when it comes to other substances because those are not the substances that have been mainstreamed in America. Whether it's marijuana, whether it's cocaine, you name it. But people don't like to think of it from that perspective that, oh, wait, it's just a matter of opinion which substance you like over other substances. Why is it that somebody who comes home from work and smokes a blunt or smokes a joint, they're risking jail, but somebody who comes home from work and, they drink a whiskey, they're totally fine. And also studies show that alcohol, if anything, is worse than marijuana in terms of its effects on your body. And when people drink, you'll see a fist fight outside of a bar.
Yeah.
As opposed to if they're smoking weed, they're eating potato chips and they're watching reruns of whatever cartoon is on Cartoon Network. Adult Swim, holla at me. So that's what I would do. I would pardon every single nonviolent drug criminal in America. Also, here, you ready for more controversy? Or, see, people think it's controversial. I don't think it is. Because I'd go out and I'd give press conferences and I'd say, look, here's the deal. Either you're in favor of freedom or you're not. Either you're in favor of people making decisions with their own body when they're not hurting anybody else, or you're not. So if we actually like to think that all those people that fought and died for America fought and died for some principle, then you're on my side. If you disagree, I guess you hate the troops. You got to frame these things in tough ways where people go,
sure.
Damn, okay, there's a point there, and I can't really argue against it.
Yeah.
That's what you got to do. So you know who else I'm freeing? I'm giving a pardon to?
Who's that?
Everybody in jail for gambling.
Oh, yeah, I can agree with you on.
Also, all cases involving prostitution where there was no violence, no coercion of the women involved. I don't want to lock anybody up. Like how they do these entrapment things. Sometimes they do it on police shows.
Oh, like Sting?
Sting operations. Yeah. There's a woman who's really a cop who's pretending to be a hooker.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, you big boy, you want to have some fun? And the guy's like, okay.
Yeah.
And they're like, got you. Yeah. 8 years in jail. Freeing all those people. I'm not going to have those people in jail. That's crazy to put those people in jail.
I could see that.
Okay, so this is all the same day. That's basically all one swift motion. Mm-hmm. 3 separate things, one drug, one prostitution, one gambling, all signing it as soon as I get the names and I tell them day 1, second 1 to give me the names of that, okay? Mm-hmm. Second thing I do, I'm taking a sledgehammer to the DEA and I'm defunding it and defanging it. So people, you got to understand the way that our system works. The president is not a king; he can't do everything. Okay, but he does have certain powers. For example, he's the head of the executive branch. He's the head of all the federal agencies. He's also the commander-in-chief, so he's the head of the military. So you do have the authority to take a government agency and say, yeah, we're going to tweak this a little bit, right?
Without going through Congress?
Without going through Congress, exactly. That's why I had to think about this. What would I do? What can I do?
Yeah.
This is one of the things I could do. I'm going to basically defund it as much as I can and is allowed, and I'll defang it in the sense that I'll call the heads of the DEA into my office, and I'll say, because you're the president, you can hire and fire them. So I'd say, here's the deal. If you want to keep your job, you are no longer prosecuting any drug crimes, any nonviolent drug crimes. If you don't, if you want to lose your job, go right ahead. Go right ahead and prosecute people that, marijuana criminals, whatever. Then guess what happens? You're fired. So it's up to you. You decide. Either we keep paying you and you don't prosecute, okay? You focus on other things, okay? Actually, you really can't because it's the DEA, Drug Enforcement Agency. But sure, I'll keep you on the payroll for a little bit. I'll keep you on the payroll, but don't do anything. If you do something, you're fired.
But then you don't think just like stuff gets out of control, like
No,
drug cartels in Mexico and
okay,
gangs
ready for this? Ready for this? This is going to blow your mind. And this is something I tried to describe on the show and explain on the show before. This is a very important point. The reason why the drug cartels are strong is because drugs are illegal. So let me explain exactly why. When people want to go buy some weed or some cocaine right now, they have to buy it from the drug cartel. There's a line that gets traced back all the way to the drug cartel. What would happen if you legalize drugs? The drug cartels no longer have a monopoly. They no longer make all the money. You know who would make the money? CVS, Walgreens, different pharmaceutical companies, different alcohol companies if they want to get in on the weed business. Would you rather give money to Coors Light or some guy who's
I'd feel a lot
Mexican
safer
drug
walking
cartel?
into CVS and buying like certain drugs than going, to Mexico or something like that.
Yeah,
having
better.
fear of my life.
Of course.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, so to your point, I guess it would be safer to walk into...
It would be safer. When you legalize something, you bring it into the light, and you can... You can tax it and regulate it and everything. Just like how prostitution is legal just outside of Vegas. There's never been a single STD transferred over there. Why? Because they mandate that you need to get a test every week or every 2 weeks or whatever it is. And the women are paid better and they get good benefits because it's legal. You can legalize it, tax it, and regulate it. When you bring it into the light, you can control the market in a certain way.
The same with gambling out in Vegas too. Like you
of course.
Can go into a casino and place a bet where... As in New York or something, you got to shadily go through a guy or find a weird spot, and then that's when stuff gets shady,
Think of when we had prohibition of alcohol in the U.S., that was when the mafia became the mafia. The mafia was nothing before that. But the reason why they became powerful, guess who supplied all the illegal alcohol? The mafia. They got all the money. They got super powerful. So if you never had prohibition of alcohol, the mafia would have never become as strong as it was. See, these are things people need to understand the history of it and understand the dynamics of it, and then they go, oh, okay, I see what you're saying. You see what I mean?
Yeah, no, yeah.
So if you defang the DEA, then you obviously have to take the next step too. You have to try to get the Congress to legalize it, okay? But if you start the ball moving in that direction, I think it's inevitable. If there's a Democrat with backbone, the other Democrats will fall in line. It'll make them fall in line. And of course, there are other factors like the money in the system, which is corrupting the Democrats right now. So you'll never see a Democrat like this while the system is corrupt. But either way, that's one of the moves I would take. Another thing I would do, I would tell all the federal courts, same thing. We don't prosecute drug crimes anymore. Okay, I'm the commander-in-chief. I'm in charge here. Now, some of these things you're overstepping your bounds a little bit, but you can still use the bully pulpit, throw some weight around, and either they listen or they don't.
But even in like states like West Virginia or something like that, these judges would just be like, fuck that.
The conservative judges would probably be like, fuck that. But if you stop the DEA, if you handcuff the DEA, that helps big time because, federal drug crimes are done so. I mean, the states are still going to do what the states do, which is why I have to change the law through Congress, of course. But I'm saying I do as much as I can within the confines of being the president. And then, okay, here's the next thing. Review every single military base in the U.S. and commit the first day to cutting at least 25% of the bases. Because right now, there's about 900 military bases, 900 U.S. military bases around the world in over 100 different countries. Some of them are just totally useless. We're just wasting taxpayer money. So I'd commit the first day to cutting at least 25% of them. My end goal would be more like cutting over 50% of them.
And the president has the power to do that?
Yes, because you're the commander-in-chief, and you're in charge of things like this. So absolutely. And it's not a spending bill. All spending bills have to be approved through Congress. So if you're spending more money, you have to go through Congress. But if you're cutting money, you can do it yourself. And then also, and this is the last one, and this is not really as much on me, but I would set the agenda. Mm-hmm. I would call a meeting with every single Democratic leader in the House and the Senate. I would call them all into my office, and I'd say,
"This is a big office.
This is what we're going to do." No, the leaders, the Democratic leaders in the House, and imagine I have all the Democrats in the country in there. I would tell them, this is what we're doing. These are the no-brainer issues that we're going to fight for until we win. Mm-hmm. We're going to propose a living wage bill, so make the minimum wage a living wage. Mm-hmm. Chain it to inflation. We're going to propose that bill today. We're going to propose a bill that mandates defensive wars only. Propose that bill today. We're going to propose a gay marriage bill, legalizing gay marriage on a federal level, and a universal background checks for gun purchases bill. Those 5 legislative initiatives are all overwhelmingly popular with the American people. The least popular thing there is gay marriage, and that's 59% are in favor.
Yeah.
So that's everything else, like universal background checks for gun purchases, 90% favorability. Even a majority of Republicans are with us on that one. Minimum wage raise, 80% are with us. So these are ones where we know they're wins politically, and they're also good policy-wise. So we're going to propose all these bills today. Let the Republicans slap them down, and then boom.
Nothing healthcare?
Eventually, the reason why I wouldn't do healthcare on day one is because it requires a lot of work with a lot of experts to switch our system over to a Medicare for all system, which is what I want. And that requires a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of attention to detail. So you can't do that on day one. But I thought about it, but you can't. It's just not possible. The logistics aren't there. The logistics are there for this. Propose a very simple living wage bill, mandate defensive wars. A majority of the American people are non-interventionists. They'll agree with that. Gay marriage, universal background checks. And then what'll happen is you'll propose them, depending on who's controlling the House and the Senate, they might get slapped down. Yeah. The Republicans might not even allow a vote on it. But here's the difference between me being a Democratic leader and people like Obama. I go, great, you blocked it? Fantastic. Watch me give an address later tonight explaining to the American people that you hate them and you disagree with them.
But then they just come out and say their side of it. Like, that's how politics fucking is so pointless.
Guess who wins that argument in the end, though? The person who has the overwhelming majority of the American people on their side. If I call a press conference and I say, we just proposed a bill to raise the minimum wage, 80% of you agree with us on that. A majority of Democrats, independents, and Republicans agree with us on that. How about you guys pick up the phone and call the Republicans and ask why they're fascists?
But realistically, does that work? I mean, like, then you have Fox News saying that.
Here's how it works. Here's how it works. It might not necessarily get the bill passed, okay? But you know what happens? When you are very strong with that line and you repeat it over and over, in the next election, you wipe them out.
You would think.
And
you would hope.
I think we know that because the Democrats have always tried the opposite approach, and they always lose with the opposite approach.
Which is what?
Whenever they do well, which is let's run to the center, let's be buddy-buddy with the Republicans, let's be more right-wing. Yeah. But whenever we do the opposite, whenever there's people who run as progressives, they win. I'll give you a few examples. In this recent election, Nunn in Georgia, she was a Democrat. She did commercials with George H.W. Bush, saying, I'm with him, I'm like a Republican. Got destroyed.
Yeah.
Allison Lundergan Grimes in Kentucky ran as a center-right Democrat against Mitch McConnell. Basically, she was shooting guns in her ad, saying, I love coal. Very Republican in her actions.
Yeah.
Got destroyed by 15 points against Mitch fucking McConnell, who's the turtle man, who nobody likes anyway. Lost. There's a guy, Mark Pryor in Arkansas. He ran ads holding the Bible, saying, I get my beliefs from the Bible. Got destroyed. He ran as the most conservative Democrat in the country. Meanwhile, look at a guy like Alan Grayson. Alan Grayson is a true progressive in Florida, of all places. Won by double digits because he ran as a progressive. Okay, when people run as progressives, they win because they're appealing to things that the American people believe. And I'm not saying you go out there and use the word, I am a progressive. No. You go issue by issue. Hey, I'm with you on the minimum wage. Hey, I'm with you on wars. Hey, I'm with you on drugs. I'm with you on background checks for guns. If you make the argument, people go, oh, I agree with that guy, and he's strong. I like that. So, again, we might not get it through the first day, and we might not get it through the entire, first term in office. We might not. Mm-hmm. But if you continually make that argument, and by the way, that leads to the other point about what I would do here, I would spread everybody out. I'd say, okay, when they block it, and they're going to block it, assuming they have control at the time, the Republicans, I'd say, okay, I'm going to give a speech to the nation, an address to the nation, and I'm going to word this in a way that's very convincing and very strong. And then I want all of you to go out on the Sunday talk shows, to go out on all the 24-hour political news networks and talk about this and just back up our line. There are video clips online of Republicans. When they want something, all of them get on the same page and all of them use the exact same talking points on the Sunday shows. And you know what happens? It works. Yeah. Like when the Republicans came out really hard against Obamacare and made up the death panel bullshit. I mean, you'll think that's so over the top, that's so fucking crazy, nobody believes it, right? Mm-hmm. But when you hear it 24 hours a day from every single elected Republican, yes, and they say it over and over in the exact same wording, eventually it's reflexive. People start going, well, I hear about those death panel things in Obamacare, and what happens? The law becomes majority unpopular, which is why right now, by the way, 58% of the American people say we don't like Obamacare. But when you go provision by provision... Well, you ask them why. They don't know. No, well, they don't know. Yeah. It's because the Republicans have drilled into their head, Obamacare bad, Obamacare bad. But when you go provision by provision of the law, it's one of the most wildly popular laws in America. I mean, most of the provisions are over 70% approval rating. So they're good at messaging. They're good at PR. Messaging. And what we need to do is copy that trick, and we can do that. We just need to have a leader of the Democratic Party who's a real fucking leader. Yeah. So that's day one. That's what I would do on day one. We'd get a lot of shit done, man. Yeah, you have a busy day one. That's really not all that... I mean, it's a lot of stuff, but it doesn't seem all that busy. Accomplished. Yeah. In that first day. Yeah. And final thing, we'll end on this note here. This question popped into my head the other day. I wanted to ask you your opinion on it. Mm-hmm. This is a hard question, man, and I don't have an answer either. I thought of the question. I didn't think of my answer to it. Mm-hmm. What would your last meal be? Oh, I mean, chicken parmesan. That quickly you got an answer? Really? Yeah, that's 100? Yeah. Like last meal ever. I know I'm gone the next day. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm taking chicken parmesan. Really? What, it was really tough for you? No, you know what it is? Food is one of those things for me. I think a lot of people are probably like this, that it's so subject to my mood at the time. Yeah, it is. That it's hard for me to sit here at any given time and say, I know I'd want X for it. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's very hard in that respect. But I mean, a few things that pop to my head. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've obviously been a penny vodka head my entire life. Yeah. Like, I love that shit. I've had it at so many different places. We're also subject to good food here in New York. So, I mean, like, I could say chicken parm and confidently say, like, but if you're in Mississippi, yeah. So, disaster. Like, I've had chicken parmesan other places out of New York, and I'm just like, I wouldn't have that. But if I'm in New York and I have my last meal, I'm just like, find me a banging Italian restaurant, get me some chicken parm, and I'll be set to go out. But I also thought, like, a really good burger. Like, I might go with a Five Guys. A Five Guys burger for your last meal? I think it's so good, Or man. I would take one of those meals that we had on the most expensive list. Like, one of those... Remember you read off that list of, like, most expensive food? Fuck that. No, I'm not going with the yuppie. $20,000, like... Yeah, that's crazy. Truffle with fucking dick sauce and shit. Fuck that, man. No, so I was thinking... If I go burger, maybe Five Guys, but maybe like I've had some delicious bacon cheeseburgers. Then there's people out there that say In-N-Out Burger is way better than Five Guys. I don't know if I've ever had it. I've never had In-N-Out Burger. We don't have it in New York. That's the problem. The only spot they had it, well, someone told me they had it in Arizona, but the only other spot I heard outside of California that has it is Las Vegas. And we were both in Vegas, but it's off the beaten path in Vegas. Fuck. It's like off a weird exit or something. To say that's better than Five Guys is kind of a big thing. But here's the thing. Everybody I've heard it from is from either California or West Coast. So they never had Five Guys. So they've never had Five Guys. So it's like, if you're in New York, you're going to say Five Guys is better. If you're on the West Coast, you're going to say In-N-Out Burger is better. That makes sense, yeah. So that's a tough call. That's like
it's tough because it's like, I don't know if
We're very
people out there know Sonic.
Myopic. Yeah, I've
But
never
we
had
don't have a
Sonic.
Sonic by us, but I guess they do commercials worldwide.
Pennsylvania, they have
So we
Sonics.
see Sonic's commercials all the time, and we're
Right.
like, oh my God, if I had a Sonic. But people who live by Sonic are like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like if there was a Wendy's by me, I'm sure it'd be just as good.
Right,
Like,
yeah. That's true. But I don't know what else, man. Like, I've always been one of those people, I love fried foods.
oh, yeah.
I'm more like, you know how some people really, really like baked goods? Like, they like cakes and
Yeah,
cookies, and I'm
sweets.
not like that.
You don't, yeah?
No, I like those things,
Yeah.
but I'm like, I can fill up quickly with that.
Yeah, I guess
like
you
if I have
swung
one
me
or two
too.
cookies, I'm like, okay, I'm done. Or if
Yeah.
I have one piece of cake, I'm like, okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
Like it fills me up fast, and I don't crave it.
Yeah.
Things I crave are all fried shit for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, yeah, now I'm thinking of the chicken parm, but when I was in Kansas City, the barbecue food was incredible. So maybe I just want like some pulled pork,
Oh,
some split ends. Oh God. Yeah, there's so many good foods out there. Shit.
I'd have to think
You got
about it
nothing?
more.
So a burger?
No, I don't know if it'd be penne vodka. I don't know if it'd be a big old juicy bacon cheeseburger with fries with it. Last meal. I mean, it's your last meal ever.
There's so
And then
many
also,
crazy
like, what do you have for
concoctions.
dessert? Krispy Kreme donut? I might have a Krispy Kreme donut for dessert.
Dunkin' Donuts has that new cronut. You ever heard of
No,
cronut?
no.
It's a croissant and a donut
Ooh.
mixed in one. So it's like you get the donut like awesomeness, like plus a croissant, so it's like thickly glazed
That
donut.
sounds delicious. Maybe that's for dessert.
Oh.
Making myself hungry sitting here.
And I'm
talking
on this
about
low carb diet too. Oh, I was just telling you, I was down in the city and I was trying to be good on my diet. The
Big old
lady's house I
pizza.
was at was just like, we ordered pizza. And I was like,
Oh.
all right, why'd you do that?
And then you had to
It
house
came and they opened up the pizza. I was like, all right, if it looks whack, I'm not going to have it. She opened it up and it was just like, it looked so banging.
Oh.
Had to crush like 5 slices.
All right. We're hungry. We're going to go eat. Love you
Yeah.
guys. We'll see you here next week, Cor.
Yes, sir.
All right. Sounds good. All right, guys. Love you. Kisses, smooches. Later. Peace.